Hi, this is Jody again from the town of Terre Haute, Indiana, USA. Today I want to talk to the young people who are about to vote in the presidential election in the Philippines. Um, it seems like it's boiling down to Ferdinand Marcos Jr., otherwise known as BongBong, and Leni Robredo, the vice president currently of the Philippines. Um, this is an important election for you all. Um, but I think you should know, with all the fake news you're seeing, the fake memes, the misinformation, um, you really ought to know about BongBong, or should I say, his family, particularly his father, Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the former elected president of the Philippines from 1965 to 1972, when he imposed martial law and became dictator of the Philippines until 1986. Junior, BongBong, seems to be running on his father's early successes in the Philippines before he took drastic measures to assume maximum power there. First things first, the positive things that Marcos Sr. did was he started getting loans from other governments so that he could put forth a series of infrastructure buildings, roads, bridges, educational facilities, which made him popular. I think his slogan was rice, roads, and schoolhouses. During this time, he also increased the military spending, beefed up the military, which proved popular with the people in the military and their families. But as the dawn of the 1970s started, there was a growing student protest against some of the government actions. About 5 years earlier in the United States, we had a similar movement. But here in the United States, we just had the president decide not to run again and let forth somebody new come along. Marcos Sr.'s idea was quite drastically different. In 1971, he suspended the writ of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is the idea that if you get arrested, you got to be taken before a judge who decides whether or not you should be let loose on bail or stay in jail until you have a trial. When you suspend this, the government can arrest you and just leave you in jail. No trial. In 1972, Marcos imposed martial law. That pretty much means that the military takes over the running of the government, and it decides pretty much what the rules are. The laws are put aside. And as his own defense minister and commander-in-chief, Marcos Sr. basically became the dictator there. He kept martial law in effect until 1981, in which he allowed there to be a quote-unquote election, by which time he had changed the rule of law and allowed himself to run again, but pretty much maintained his total control over the government. During this time of martial law, the government could tell you when you could go to work, when you had to be home. I think the phrase one friend over in the Philippines said her mom told her that all lights and candles had to be out by 5 p.m. My friend also told me that her mother said if the military came for you, you were pretty much, they were going to take you out and kill you. Thousands were killed this way. People who were protesting against the dictator, Marcos Sr. It wasn't a pretty sight. I was old enough to see some of this on the international news here in the United States. And I'm sad to say that some of our presidents here in the United States somehow agreed with Marcos Sr.'s martial law and his form of government. That all came to a head in 1986 when another election took place between him and Corazon Aquino, which Aquino won, but with Marcos still running the show, he proclaimed his victory. Then in late February of 1986, a couple weeks after the election, the People's Revolution took place, and within 3 days, Marcos and his family was left, unfortunately, to the United States. And Aquino took her rightful place as president. Another thing you need to know is that Marcos Sr., his wife, and by this time an adult, BongBong, who was held government offices and later would be elected to government offices, took about 10 billion United States dollars worth of Philippine cash with them. Basically, they had scammed off of the government financing they got from their International Monetary Fund and other countries. That would be the equivalent to 500 billion pesos. Even today, they're still trying to track down where all this money went to. The courts, according to the South China Morning Post, a newspaper in Hong Kong, the courts over in the Philippines have demanded that Marcos Jr., BongBong, pay about 3 billion US dollars, or over 150 billion pesos, in inheritance tax on what they took with them. Like I said, BongBong has been running pretty much on his father's, the good things his father did for the country, but he's been trying to, as he said, avoid mudslinging with the other candidates, probably because he doesn't want to get into any kind of discussion of the illegalities that his father did, which would probably any public statement he might say or slip out saying could probably be used in a court of law against him. So that's kind of what you're looking at with BongBong. I'm not saying he would try to turn it into a dictatorship again, but you're not dealing with an honest man. By the 1980s, he was an adult, and he pretty much knew what his parents were doing, especially his father. On the other side, you've got Leni Robredo, the current vice president, who's been campaigning on, it's hard to say, in politics, honest government, but she wants, everything, if she's elected, she wants everything to be crystal clear as to what she's doing. She's campaigned on, being held accountable. And if elected, you would I would expect you to hold her accountable and to be clear and concise and let everybody know out in the open what she's going to do. As vice president under the current president, which is a kind of a quirk with your election system there. You vote for a president and a vice president, but you might elect a president from one party and the vice president who's not his or her running mate from another party. The current president has done everything he can to discredit Leni. He's appointed her to certain, besides being vice president, certain what I'd call posts or commissions, and then fired her to try to disgrace her or discredit her. But she still seems to be standing tall on her own 2 feet. Like I said, in politics, having an honest politician is hard to come by. If I were there, I would be voting for Leni. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, talk to your parents, your aunts and uncles, your grandparents. Ask them what it was like under martial law. Ask them exactly what Marcos Sr. was like in his way of ruling, and then ask them what they think about the son. I'm not meaning to, I'm here just kind of as a warning after watching the last 7 years of dealing with Donald Trump here, who was never truly honest about just about anything. He'd always, he'd say one thing one day, say I didn't say it the next, even after they would show him video of him saying it. They called it, I think his spokesperson called it alternative facts. Well, no, you either have facts or you got lies. So, and I know in this age when everybody's calling everything fake news, it's really kind of hard to decipher what's going on and what's real. And I've seen a lot of the fake news over there, the fake memes, conjured up stories. In fact, I was warned by a couple of my friends from the Philippines, you might get a lot of flack for this, a lot of hate comments. Well, it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time I've lost some friends over politics. I lost quite a few people close to me in the last 7 years over the politics here. But if you're for Leni, want to pass this video along to your friends. If you're one of these spazzers who's got 5,000 followers and you're willing to take a risk, go ahead and post this. And if you disagree with me and are going for BongBong and want to show your friends what a funny American thinks of everything, feel free to share it too. But I hope that everything works out for the best for the people of the Philippines. I have several very good friends there, and I would hope the best for them. Thanks.